Nationwide anti-Trump protests erupt across the country. The United States was swept by a massive wave of demonstrations this weekend, as pro-democracy activists, labor unions, and civil rights organizations mobilized in response to what they describe as a grave threat to democratic governance. According to organizers, more than 300 rallies took place in all 50 states, drawing tens of thousands of participants. The protests were triggered by the Trump administration's renewed push to redraw congressional district maps in Texas, a controversial plan that critics argue would significantly strengthen Republican control while diluting the influence of minority voters. In a dramatic political maneuver, dozens of Democratic lawmakers from Texas fled the state to prevent a quorum and block the passage of the redistricting bill. This tactic, reminiscent of earlier legislative showdowns in Texas politics, highlighted the depth of partisan conflict over voting rights and representation. Major U.S. cities, including Washington, D.C., New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Austin, saw streets filled with demonstrators waving signs, chanting slogans, and calling for federal intervention to protect voting rights. Former Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who has remained an influential voice in Texas politics, addressed large crowds in Austin. In a fiery speech, O'Rourke described the redistricting plan as a direct assault on democracy and the voice of the people. He urged Americans to stay mobilized, declaring that the fight for free and fair elections is far from over. Protest organizers have pledged that demonstrations will continue in the coming days and could escalate further if the legislation is not withdrawn or challenged in court. The development marks one of the most widespread, coordinated protest efforts since the nationwide demonstrations following the 2020 election disputes. Trump orders strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. In a separate development with global repercussions, President Donald Trump confirmed late Sunday night that U.S. warplanes carried out coordinated strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. The Pentagon described the operation as precise and successful, claiming the attacks were necessary to prevent Iran from moving closer to developing weapons-grade uranium. Military officials emphasized that the targets were carefully chosen to limit collateral damage while crippling Iran's nuclear infrastructure. The strikes represent a significant escalation in long-standing US-Iran tensions, which have been mounting amid accusations that Tehran has been covertly expanding its nuclear program in defiance of international monitoring agreements. Trump, speaking from Washington, defended the decision in stark terms.
This was a necessary step to protect American security and global stability. The United States will never allow Iran to threaten the world with nuclear weapons.
Iran's leadership has yet to release a comprehensive response, but state-run media condemned the strikes as a serious violation of sovereignty and warned of retaliatory action. Reports indicate that Iranian military forces are on high alert, with potential mobilization of missile units and naval forces in the Persian Gulf. Meanwhile, US allies in the region, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, have heightened security measures in anticipation of possible Iranian reprisals. Global observers, including the United Nations and the European Union, have urged both nations to exercise restraint, warning that the confrontation risks spiraling into a broader regional conflict. US-India trade talks delayed, raising economic concerns. On the economic front, relations between 2 of the world's largest democracies hit turbulence as the 6th round of US-India trade negotiations, originally scheduled for August 25 to 29, has been postponed. Officials from both sides cited unresolved disputes over tariffs, intellectual property rights, and market access, raising fresh doubts about the prospects of finalizing a long-awaited trade deal. The talks had been seen as a potential breakthrough in strengthening bilateral economic ties at a time when both Washington and New Delhi are recalibrating their strategies amid intensifying competition with China. The delay comes against the backdrop of a controversial new US policy. President Trump's decision to impose 50% tariffs on select imports, which are scheduled to take effect later this month.